Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of the DCL Show, coming to you from the Bob Varley Studio in Orlando, Florida. I'm your host, Pete Werner, joined at the table this week by my good friends, John Sicari.
How are you?
Our producer, Mr. Craig Williams.
Oh, hoi, hoi.
And via Skype by Dreams Unlimited Travel Agent Extraordinaire, Ms. Elaine Edwards.
Hi, friends.
And we are doing something a little different this week for some of our Patreon supporters. We are actually broadcasting this live as we record them. For you guys watching, it's pre-recorded. For them, they're getting it all live. You can check out Patreon, our Patreon page, patreon.com/DizUnplugged. And a reminder, this show, along with everything we do, it's going to be one of those days, along with everything we do, is brought to you by DreamsUnlimitedTravel.com, experts at helping you plan the perfect Disney vacation. If you like our content, please show your support. Book your next Disney Cruise Line vacation through Dreams Unlimited Travel. You're going to get the great services of a very professional agent like Miss Elaine Edwards, who's going to help you plan every aspect of your trip. You're also going to get a shipboard credit up to $1,000. And all of this for the same price you're going to pay Disney. You don't pay any more to go through a travel agent. And so you're just leaving money on the table and leaving some great support and service on the table by not choosing Dreams Unlimited Travel. So we appreciate your support. Okay, so this week we are going to talk about, finally, at long last, our opinions of the Disney Wish. And I say at long last because we've actually had the opportunity to do it twice. We did a preview cruise that we were invited guests of Disney at the end of June. And of course, I have a very strict policy that we do not cover. We do not review anything that we do not pay full price for. So I won't use a travel agent rate. I won't use anything like that if it's not a publicly available discount. We won't review it. So people have been asked about it. When are you going to talk about it? When are you going to talk about it? And I said, not until after we do the maiden voyage, because the maiden voyage I did pay for. I did get 50% off along with everyone else on the ship because they moved the date. But again, publicly available, same thing everybody else got. That's fair game. And so we've had the opportunity to experience it twice. And that matters. That matters because I did find the more time I spent on the ship, the more I started warming up to it. But I'm going to be honest with you. I'll be honest with you. My initial impressions, it's a gorgeous ship. It's an absolutely gorgeous ship. There's no question about it. They were going for a castle on the sea, and they absolutely nailed it. They absolutely nailed it. That's not my problem. It was laid out by drunk people. That's the problem I have with it. The layout of this ship makes absolutely no sense to me. Makes no sense to me. And part of it, and this was my observation on the christening cruise, we're very attached to our ships. We're very attached to DCL. We're very attached to our ships. If you're a fan of the magic, the wonder, the dream, the fantasy, you're very attached to it. The dream is my home, right? The dream is my home. I've been on it 73 times since October of last year. Not literally, but I think 6. I've been on it 6 times. And you get to know the crew, you get to know the ship, and it becomes your place. And then you go on a different ship. Like, okay, well, this isn't in the right place, and this isn't in the right place, and what is that there, and where is this, and why can't I find this? And I found myself doing that a lot on the Wish. First thing that came up was Cove Cafe. Where's Cove Cafe? I didn't realize it was going to be in another zip code. All the way.
Over the river and through the woods.
Over the river and through the woods. On the back of the ship, the adults only area is the size of a postage stamp. I don't know what they were thinking. It almost looked like an afterthought. Now, being that I don't travel with children, this mattered to me. And, the adult hot tubs and pools were like tourist soup. They were crammed together and they were full of people. Cove Cafe is smaller than the one on the Dream, for example.
And on a dead end.
And it's on a dead end. So I don't know. That was my first disappointment. Like, why did you put this here? Why did you put this here?
Obviously, I can't review it, but the layout is something that you can see it when you're reading the deck plan. So anyone at home can look through and try to figure it all out, and it makes a lot more sense once you see it in person. But I will say, the one thing that I believe we said when we talked about it before is that I've never been on a ship where to get all the way up to the top in a certain section, you have to go up an elevator bank and then get out and potentially go into another elevator in the same set of banks. And that happens specifically to get up to Enchanté, the Rose, and Palo. If you don't get lucky and you're in the back 4 of those aft elevators, it ends at 11 with Marceline Market, and then you have to get out, hit up again, and then you can finally make it up. So it can be incredibly confusing for people who don't really think about that, because if they don't think to hit up again, their first thought is going to be, well, so I just can't get up there? How do I get up there?
Right, exactly. And the decision to not include midship elevators on this ship.
That was the one, like when we first got the layouts, right before we started selling the Wish cruises in May last year, that is the first thing that I looked at was there's only 2 elevator banks. Like this for me was a big thing. And the first few people that went on the first few sailings, honestly, that's the first thing that I was asking is how did you feel about only having 2 elevator banks? Because there are times, when you're around dinner time and show time and that kind of thing, there's a lot of people trying to get in them elevators. And eventually you just kind of give up and take the stairs sometimes. But it's one of the things I was kind of worried about.
I think it's important to point out, and I know Pete was saying this before too, you're going to hear a lot of complaints because that's what we focus on for this. We're not telling you not to go on it. It's really cool, but it's a different experience. So just take that into account when you're hearing us complain. But the elevators too, I don't quite understand what they did with that or why. But for me, it's the buttons. They have to solve them.
I was just going to say, again, details like this normally don't escape Imagineering. And I don't know how this got past initial design phases. I get they're trying to, all over the ship, they're trying to limit the amount of physical contact you have with things. So a lot of things are proximity sensors, doors and things like that. Well, they also went that route on the elevators with the elevator buttons. They're proximity sensors. You know what happens when an elevator is full and someone stands with their back against a panel of buttons on an elevator that are proximity sensors? They all go off. And your elevator becomes a local and you stop at every floor. The number of times that happened. It got to a point where, like, if the elevator was just a little bit full and it looked like somebody was going to stand there, everybody on the elevator would shout, "Don't stand too close." It was ridiculous.
I was going to say it became like a communal thing on the preview cruise, that everyone was looking out for the same thing and waiting for that one person to get too close. And it was the easiest way to make friends with strangers.
Yeah. Well, didn't you share an elevator with Josh tomorrow? Yep. And he was like, "That's got to change."
Yeah. And they are trying to change it. I don't think it's good if they're putting a border around the buttons. So I guess if you're not fluffy, that border will help. But I don't know. I don't see it. I don't know why the buttons have to be proximity. Nobody even knows that it's a proximity sensor.
Even with that box around it, my back fat is going to set those things off. Please. So, yeah, not a fan there. Not a fan.
And they know about it. Like you said, Josh said that has to change. So,
And I mean, I guess their initial attempt at changing it was putting that box around it. I don't know what they're going to do now that it's in service. They can't change out the panels.
yeah, you can. I mean, for a price, just give us regular buttons back.
Yeah. I mean, I get what you're going for.
Did you see anybody that used the hover? Nobody even
No,
knows. that you
everybody's
could-
touching it.
Of course.
Everybody's touching it. So it
That's what
doesn't
Yeah,
make any
I'm
sense.
pushing the button anyways. I would forget.
Yeah, it's it's crazy. It's crazy. But the other layout issue with the ship that everyone commented on are the number of bizarre dead ends where things just stop for no apparent reason. And you have to turn around and backtrack. And I found that just exploring the ship. I found that a number of times. And I'm like, and you really, and I even have complaints about the layout on the Fantasy and the Dream. Because there are some bizarre things on the Fantasy and the Dream. We got to go up to go down. And it's like, I don't know. These were built in the Meyerwerft shipyards in Germany. And I don't know if it's a German thing. Because you look at the layout, you want to talk about flawless layouts. You look at the magic and the wonder. Those were built by the Italians. And I find them laid out better. I don't know if that has anything to do with it or not, but I don't know. I'm not a fan of the ships coming out of Meyerwerft, just generally speaking, in terms of their layout. Now, let's talk about some things I did like. I like the fact, and I think this ends up being a very good thing, that they got rid of the adults-only districts with the clubs. I'm glad they did that. They've instead kind of peppered them around the ship a bit. And what I noticed, now this could have been because the preview cruise that we did and the maiden voyage were both adult heavy. We didn't have a lot of kids.
Right.
And I noticed that the clubs were hopping. You had a lot of people. Normally, in these districts, these entertainment districts that they create on the other ships, I call them Sadness Avenue because there's never anybody in those clubs. Or you have it's kind of like they took Atlantic Dance Hall from the boardwalk and moved it onto a ship. And you've got the requisite 2 drunk guys sitting there dancing, and that's it.
I will say on our podcast cruise on the Dream, the adult district was hopping, and it was a lot of fun.
That's because we're there.
Yeah.
And my people drink.
Well, that's an asterisk too, because everyone always goes out for whatever the big game is in like Evolution. If it's match your mate or whatever, that always is a draw for people, no matter on what ship. It's what happens right after that game show is over. Where do people disperse to? And like on the preview cruise, we didn't have it. So it was one of the questions I was going to ask you was, did you see any of those styles of entertainment that happen in Luna or Triton's Lounge? And if so, like, what was that like? Did you see anything on the stage inside the Grand Hall? Because it was used for nothing on ours.
They did
Little character things. 5-minute things.
interaction things on the stage. But we didn't see any like performances
Okay.
or anything.
Yeah. Like in the
Right?
Dream, in Evolution, you could do there was a conga line and stuff going around. Where would they do that on the ship? Triton's is too small. They had karaoke in there. And Luna's too small for something huge like that. I don't know where they would do that.
Yeah, well, let's talk about. I really did like the Bayou.
Yes, I do
Okay,
like that.
they put it in the middle of deck 4.
Deck 4, I think.
3.
Is it 3?
Or 3.
3.
Open air, and they have live entertainment. I'm trying to think if it's 3 or 4.
It's either the Grand Hall's either 4, 5, 6 or 3, 4, 5, and now I can't remember either.
It might be 3.
It's been too long.
It's either 3 or 4.
Either deck 3 or 4. Open air bar with live entertainment. And there was something about it. And this is also where Tiana will make appearances. That was cool. We hung out there a few times.
Lounges on one side, shopping on the other side. That was cool.
Yeah. Yeah. And the shopping.
Yep. There was a lot of shopping.
There were opportunities.
Treasures untold.
There were opportunities. And it was Castle Jewels.
Castle Jewels, Treasures Untold.
Treasures Untold. Mickey's Mainsail.
Yeah, well, that Mickey's Mainsail was
upstairs.
Was up one. But the luxury stuff was near the Bayou.
Yeah, and the Bayou. There's the shopping on the one side, and then there's the Star Wars bar. What was that? Hyperspace Lounge, which
could be larger.
You have to make a reservation to get in. Making reservations can be a real challenge because most people didn't know what to do, and they were telling people go to at the place. They were telling people go to guest services. So,
it's disjointed.
Now, if you're in Concierge, which I'll get to Concierge in a bit, if you're in Concierge will make it for you. But it's a very small space. It's a very, very small space. And it's packed with people who are not wearing masks. And I heard that because the maiden voyage, the next one after the maiden voyage was a DVC cruise. And there were a lot of people on the maiden doing back-to-back. A lot of DVC members doing back-to-back. This is a rumor. I don't know that this is fact. But what I heard, 25% of the people doing back-to-back tested positive and couldn't go.
I bet you it's real.
So there was that. We're going to do a separate show on dining.
Okay.
So I don't want to go into too much detail on that right now, other than to say that I found the rotational dining restaurants to be exceptional. The theming, the entertainment, phenomenal. Phenomenal. Entertainment in general, the quality, with some exceptions, the quality of the singers on this ship. Any one of them that I listened to, I'm not kidding, I'm not saying this lightly, could have walked right off that ship and onto a Broadway stage. They were first rate. And as far as the food was concerned, I will say my experience, I know this was not the case for everybody because I heard very mixed reviews. My experience, the food in the main dining rooms was the best I've had on any Disney cruise. It was better than how good it was on the Dream when they were only serving 1,000 people. They made a lot of changes, from what I understand, to the kitchens to improve their processes, getting food out, and getting food out quickly, which did not always happen because there were some wrinkles there. But we'll get into that on that show. But there were dishes I had that I could have sworn were cooked to order. That's how good it was. It was hot, it was fresh, and it was good. Now, again, not everybody had that experience. So I'm not saying it was hit or miss. It was hit or miss from the people I spoke to. And I spoke to quite a few people. Anybody I met on this cruise, I asked the same question. What do you think of the ship?
It's a gorgeous ship.
It's a gorgeous ship, and that should be the new name. It's not the Wish. It's beautiful, but. That is what I heard more than anything else. And that is what I said more than anything else. When people would ask me, what do I think of the ship? It's beautiful, but I'm not a fan of the layout. Now, as much as I hated where Cove Cafe was, and I like on the maiden voyage, I don't think I got a single coffee there. But they did put coffee stations on decks 3 and 4 midship, right?
Yep. I was just going to say, yeah, I missed the Cove Cafe, but there was great coffee from the same machine, that luxury style.
It was
coffee.
just as good as Cove.
Yeah. The coffee they set up at the Jiminy Cricket Bar, the one that was above that, and then you could also get coffee at the one bar that was in between both sections of Marceline Market. So they tried to add it and make it more accessible. And I want to say it was the Wish Upon a Star Cafe that was one of the few ones that was doing iced coffee drinks that were a little bit more extravagant rather than what they had in Cove, which was very it's the smallest Cove Cafe menu of any ship in terms of
one
coffee
big
choices.
complaint about Cove Cafe is they have done away with the free pastries and little snacks, finger foods.
That's disappointing.
Go ahead, Elaine.
I was just saying that's disappointing.
Yeah, that was really disappointing.
And that's easily remedied with a refrigerated case or something if they really wanted to.
Yeah.
I wonder if that's still coming back or something. But yeah, people complained.
Yeah. And again, not reviewing, but like Keg and Compass is the bar that would be the most equivalent to the other pubs on the other ships, whether it's O'Gill's or 1860, whatever on the Dream. And that with those ones, there would always be like the buffet that was set up that you could get little finger foods. And in Keg and Compass, now there's a full menu that you can order off of, but it is all extra charges. And that's definitely a change versus the nice little buffet setup for you every single night after you're done watching your game shows and such.
Yeah. It's they did make some adjustments. Palo is obviously now Palo Steakhouse, which is happening fleet-wide. And we have a review that by the time this goes up, that review will probably go up the same week, I'm guessing. Mm-hmm. We did just publish a review of Enchanté, the brunch at Enchanté, which was an absolute dumpster fire. Terrible experience. Ugh.
That's a good review to watch.
Yeah, no, it's a good review to watch. And comment on my shirt, because apparently that's getting a lot of comments.
It's getting a lot of comments.
Everybody loves the shirt.
We must look good at all times. I'm working a lot on my wardrobe, okay? I'm working a lot on my wardrobe. I have a lot of Disney stuff, and I decided I want less Disney stuff and more other stuff. So I'm working on my wardrobe.
Until we get the Tommy Bahama Jungle Cruise shirt.
I've also lost weight, and like I can fit into things now that I wasn't able to fit into 6 months ago. So that makes clothes shopping a lot more fun when you can fit in the clothes. It's the worst thing going clothes shopping, seeing something you like, and you try it on, and you're like, damn it.
Story of my life at Disney.
Yeah. Well, now at Disney, everything's small and medium.
Yeah. They run out of everything.
They run out of anything. Yeah. Do they not know their audience? We are full-figured gals. Do they not know their audience? We're not fitting into an extra small. You get some of those skinny people that can do that. God bless them. They're evil, but God bless them. I trying to think. Elaine, do you have any questions for us before?
I would like to, because I would like to bring it back around to a positive. I just want to hear from you guys. Like, what was your favorite thing that you did while you were on the ship that's different from the other ships? And or what was your favorite place that you found yourself kind of hanging out the most, gravitating to, that kind of thing?
Well, the place I hang out the most on a Disney ship is the smoking area. which we made a lot of good friends on the maiden voyage. It was awesome. It's awesome. And we're actually we're planning trips together for next year.
It was a lot of fun.
So that was kind of cool. There are two actually three now, smoking areas on the ship. You have deck 14 forward, you have deck 14 aft, and then they added the night before the end of the cruise, they started adding the ashtrays to deck 4 like they have on the Dream and the Fantasy, where you can smoke there after 6. There's a certain area.
Outside?
On the deck.
Oh, okay.
On the deck. They screw the ashtrays into the wall. And you can smoke there after 6 o'clock. So that's where I spent a decent amount of time. My absolute favorite experience on the ship, hands down, you'll see it in the review, Palo. I was so concerned about the changes they were planning for Palo on the Wish, going to a steakhouse, going a la carte. I'm going to tell you, this was the best Palo experience I've ever had. And I've done I'm coming up on cruise 42 on Disney. So I've done Palo. So when I say best Palo experience I ever had, and if you do Palo on the Wish, ask for Brandon. Ask for Brandon. Tell him I said hello. He was phenomenal. Little sassy at the beginning. I'm like, we may not get along.
He turned it around.
But he turned it around. I think he realized he was coming up to that line, because I was about to say to him, that line you're not supposed to cross with a guest? Look behind you. But
what about the Barbery for you? Are we doing a separate show of that, or you're going to...
the Barbery. I almost forgot about that. Yeah. Okay, the spa treatment I get all the time is the gentleman shave and collagen facial. And
so wait, you told me you were just getting a shave, and I didn't know that they did any spa stuff. So when he came back and I looked at him, I was like, "You got a facial?" So it
no, the
worked.
treatment,
right?
Yeah.
But I'm saying I didn't know. I thought you were going for a shave. So if I saw a difference, it really
now
made a difference.
let's talk about the spa a little bit. The rainforest room in the spa. If you're a rainforest fan, they took it to a whole nother level. There's an outdoor area that it's absolutely gorgeous. But if you like to get a manicure, pedicure, you want to get a shave, haircut, those are in completely separate sections of the ship. They're not in the spa anymore. Whereas the spa is all self-contained on the other ships. When you do all that stuff in the spa, you're going to go get your shave, you got to go to Hook's Barbery. Now, Hook's Barbery, very interesting. Very, very interesting. It is a traditional barber shop, right? And they do barber services. But they also have a bar where the barber is also your bartender and will make these unusual... Now, I didn't experience this because I don't drink, but...
Yeah, he specializes in smoked old fashions and other rare bourbon drinks and such. And not that old fashions are rare, but they have rare bourbons. So that's your high end liquor spot to go to where they can make stuff. And I spent $120 on drinks in there, I think. So since I did,
clearly didn't avail himself of the barber services.
No, I did not. I didn't use. Honestly, I actually went to get my hair cut and a shave right before the ship, not knowing that Hook's Barbery was going to be so cool. Otherwise, I would have waited for the ship, just because I like that barbershop experience where, a lot of the ones I've been to, they'll actually they'll have kegs and stuff and serve you beer before while you're waiting, and then in between services. And knowing that, if I would have known this one had the drinks where you could have a drink while you're waiting, and then in between what you're having done, I would have loved it. But the drinks I had in there, yeah, each, depending on what bourbon you got put in or what type of whiskey, it could get expensive. The most expensive drink I had, I think, was $45 after tip, but they they were exquisite drinks.
They better be for $45.
Yeah, no, it's definitely. I think
As a
like
single drink was $45.
yeah, a single old fashioned because I put in a very expensive bourbon that I normally wouldn't, but I was like, you know what, we're on a preview cruise, and again, I didn't pay for the cruise because Disney put me on, so I have a bigger budget for drinks, and we were with you the night before, and you paid for all the drinks, so that was extra money that I had to put towards the Barbery the next day, and so I said, you know what, go for it. And it was, I cannot wait to get back on the Wish to go to Hook's Barbery and have drinks and get the
what's
proper
funny,
treatment.
what's funny is as we're talking about this stuff,
You want to go back?
I want to go back.
See?
I want to go back as we're talking about it.
But you said when you came out of Hook's Barbery, you said, I think this is changing how I feel about this ship.
That was a pivotal moment for me because that's a treatment I get on every cruise, right? I get the shave. I love it. That was the best version of that treatment I've ever had done on any of their ships. Again, I'm 40 plus cruises on Disney. I've done that treatment a lot of times, at least a dozen, if not 2 dozen. So when I say that was the best, that was the best. So if you've had that treatment done before, this is one to really go out of your way to book that as soon as you can. Because I also noticed Hook's Barbery, it was tough.
Yeah.
Getting appointments there.
It's not a big space.
It's not a big space. And after that treatment, I did start, that's when I did say, but it's also, that was like my fourth day in total, I think, on the Wish when I count the preview cruise and this.
Yeah.
And I said, I'm starting to feel a little different about this ship. And as the trip went on, I found myself warming up to it. So that's the message I want to get out to people. You have your favorite ship now. Now, if you've not been on a Disney ship before, and this is going to be your first Disney cruise, it's going to be a whole different experience for you. Whole different experience. But if you're a veteran cruiser, you've been on Disney cruises before, you feel passionate about your favorite ship, it's going to be jarring. It's going to be jarring. Go in knowing that. And manage your expectations and keep your mind open. That's what I want. If there's any message from this that I want to get out to people, it's that.
And look for an alternative, like with the coffee. If you love hanging out at the Cove Cafe, which I do, and you can't get there because of where it's located, it's just not convenient, there's other great coffee bars now. There's always something else that kind of takes over. Like on the Dream, this was my favorite, but now there's something else that might be your favorite on this ship. I don't know what we're going to talk about with entertainment, but I just found the entertainment, like Pete said, the singers were amazing. But like, I love Beauty and the Beast on the Dream, and when I went to see The Little Mermaid on this ship, it was very disappointing to me. If you're watching now on Patreon, you probably saw already, there's a little Patreon video of me talking about it in detail, but I did not like it. And I thought it was like a community theater as opposed to a big, beautiful production that I'm used to from Disney.
Yeah, we'll get into entertainment and some more of these things in separate shows coming up in the following weeks. But that is our overview, unless I'm missing something.
Were you going to talk about Concierge in this one?
Oh, yeah. Thank you.
And your stateroom in general.
Okay. So I was in Concierge. And I'm a big fan of Concierge on Disney Cruise Line. And this Concierge Lounge in particular just blows everything else away. I mean, it's huge. It's a massive lounge. And did you go upstairs to the upstairs deck?
Yes.
Holy crap. They've got a full bar out there. They've got plenty of seating for sunbathing. Absolutely. It's a pool deck.
We do have video on it, too. I'm sure we'll release at some point the Concierge downstairs and upstairs. Yeah. It was. I've seen it because of Pete on the other ships. This really blows the others away. I mean, it was great.
Yeah, it's, and of course the concierge service, as always. Again, this was consistent throughout the cruise for me. If you didn't know that was a maiden voyage, that was the first time they were doing a guest-facing cruise, you never would have guessed from the level of service I was getting on that ship. Whether it was the servers, stateroom hosts, cast members or crew members I interacted with throughout the cruise, concierge, they were all taken from other ships, so they knew what they were doing. And it was seamless. It was seamless. The service was seamless. There were some hiccups. There were some hiccups here and there, but nothing like, wow, these guys have no idea what they're doing. Because we've all been to the launch of a Disney product, and we know that sometimes it doesn't go well. But DCL is so well run from the top down, from Thomas Maslam, who's the president of DCL, on down. You have a product that is so incredibly well run that, and you see that in how this ship is operated, how these cast members were. Are there going to be hiccups? Are there going to be things they're going to have to adjust? Of course. They can only do so much before they launch it.
What are your big takeaways from the cabin?
From
the cabin itself.
The cabin, I thought our stateroom was perfectly nice. I thought the bed was incredibly comfortable, but it hadn't been slept on. So
no, I think those are going to live up. I think they're going to hold for a while.
Was I blown away with the stateroom? No. But I like the staterooms on Disney Cruise Line. I think they need more drawers. Not a lot of drawer space. There are cubbies where you can put stuff, but it wasn't big.
Yeah.
It wasn't big on drawer space.
Correct. I slept on the pull down, comfy. It actually was. I mean, for me, I was scared that I was going to break it. I was, but it was comfortable. My thing was the TV placement. I think it's going to wind up changing. That
TV placement is crazy. The TV is placed at the foot of the bed. So if you're sitting on the couch, for example, it's really, you're looking at it from an odd angle.
If you can even
they
see
did
it,
that in order to put a big screen television in the stateroom, which I appreciate. But if you're not laying in that bed watching it, it's kind of awkward.
Yeah. Corey brought it up when we were filming stuff in the room, and Corey and I were in one of the deluxe family staterooms, so we had the Murphy bed, and so that pulls down from the wall, and so once you're over there, like, you're even further away from that screen since it doesn't swivel, and
Swizzle.
you have to swizzle. I'm thinking swizzle sticks. Talking about all those drinks, it's on my mind right now. But yeah, so if you have to think about who's normally on the pull down couch, the pull down bed, or that extra Murphy bed, it's usually kids, and kids are going to be the ones to want to watch TV at night. So I did ask our stateroom attendant if there's a blank wall in front of the Murphy bed in the deluxe rooms where they could easily add another TV. And I asked if that was in the plans because it was completely blank. Like, it looked like they were missing artwork or a TV or something. And she's like, I think it's finished. It's definitely not going to be another TV. Like, that's a missed opportunity. Like, if parents could have a TV in their section and whoever was in the other section could have their own, yeah, it's a lot of TV for one stateroom, but it would be smarter in the long run.
And it's not just the viewing angle. I don't care if you're big or small, you have this much room between the bed and the wall, and the TV is there. Somebody's shoulder or something is smashing into that TV
Yeah.
every time you pass.
Yeah, somebody's going to take a TV off the wall at some point.
And it's probably going to be me. It's probably going to be me.
Okay. But yeah, Concierge was flawless, worth every penny, especially when they give you 50% off. That was a very nice.
I look forward to breakfast. Pete does not eat breakfast. They made these little egg sandwiches in Concierge.
Oh yeah, you were obsessed with
They
those.
were they were like little pieces of toast with a fried egg and a piece of bacon, and they were perfect. They were tiny, but they were perfect. I missed that. I would go to Concierge just for that.
Yeah. So, all right. I think that covers everything we want to talk about in this show. We are, as I said, doing subsequent shows where we focus on dining, entertainment, things like that. So be looking for those in the weeks coming up. And that is going to do it for this episode of the DCL show. We hope you enjoyed it. We'll see you again next week. Have a great week, folks.